This episode is sponsored by The Break Room, downtown's best spot for a hot lunch every business day.
On this episode, Topeka Bike Share, playwright Phil Grecian, historian Doug Wallace, and Topeka Civic Theater's Shannon Reilly.
Welcome back to Talk About Topeka, and today we have Carl Fundenberger here with us from the Topeka Metro. We asked him to change his last name before he came on the show, so I wouldn't have to say it and mess it up. Did I?
No, you got it
No?
right. Yeah.
You did good.
Perfect.
I had to ask like a million times. Fundenberger, right? Fundenberger, right? Okay. So you are the new director of bicycle operations. This is a new humongous thing that the city of Topeka has done. This is a big leap of faith. And you're the new director. This is a first-time thing.
Topeka Metro, yeah.
Right. I am thrilled to be a part of it, and I'm so pleased that Topeka Metro is taking on bicycles. Mm-hmm. I think this could really change what bicycles look like in Topeka and how people think about them and use them.
And their accessibility to them as well. That's the big thing.
Exactly.
Where did this idea, for folks who are listening on the radio, if you tune into the television show, you'll see an awesome looking bike here in the studio with us. This is the prototype here that the city has.
So let's say I go and pick up this bike and I get it near the Topeka Metro where you guys are
Sure.
at, okay? I pick it up and I decide that I want to ride to, give me a location, the library.
The library.
Is that a long way? That's a long way.
It's not bad.
Okay, well let's just say I go to the library.
Sure.
And I park it outside while I go and check out a book. Can somebody else get on that bike, put in their card, and check it out?
Well, it's a perfect question because the bikes we're getting actually have a hold feature.
Oh.
And so if you've got an idea for a book you've got in mind and you want to just stop by the library and pick it up, you can, while your bike is checked out, you can put it on hold so no one else could take it. Go grab your book, get it taken care of, come outside, and hop on the bike again.
Okay.
It's amazing, this technology behind this. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Hey, wait, no, my question though is, do I have to lock it?
Yeah, there's actually a lock that's built into the bike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you let him explain how the things work, you might have the answer to your question, Jamie Slack. So, Carl, how do these things work?
Right, so we're really excited about these two, and me as just kind of a bicycle enthusiast, I'm especially keen on the bikes we picked. So these are smart bikes. Most bike share systems have smart docks, which means the stations where you park the bikes. Those are where the brains are. Those are where the computers are. But these bikes are mobile. The computer is on the bike. You can see there's a solar panel that charges the computer constantly. And all the checkout that you need to do, you can do right from the keypad that's on the back of the bike. So there's a live GPS. You can always look at the app on your phone to find a bike, see if there's one close to you. You can go check it out and ride it to, wherever the next station is, or another bike rack.
But I'm also thinking that the questions that I'm thinking of are going to be obvious questions that other people in the community would think of. So they're going to be like, well, it's just too much of a hassle.
Absolutely.
Why am I going to do that? Why don't I just ride my own bike around town?
Well, that's a great question too. See, what we hope to do is have a pretty attractive pricing for registration. So it would be cheaper to have a membership to this program than to own your own bike. The other thing, you get the advantage that you don't have to store this bike. It's always going to be outside, locked up somewhere. So you don't have to drag this bike up the stairs to your apartment, and you don't have to worry about flat tires because we'll be fixing those. You won't have to do the maintenance. So it's really a bike membership program.
Yeah. And for a lot of the people who, they're listening on the radio, you can't see the bike. It looks kind of like a beach cruiser.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a laid back bike, but it's still highly functional.
Right, yeah, it's got 3 speeds. It has a great bell on it too. Should we?
Do the bell. Yes. Oh, there he goes.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
You kind of did that like a pro. Did you take a training session for that?
Well, I put a few miles on this bike.
Yeah. Did you ride it over here?
Of course.
Oh my, he rode this over here.
Well, yeah.
That is awesome. I would have thrown it in the back of my truck. Not that I have a truck, but that's what I would
She
have
would have
done.
bought a truck so
It
that she
would
could
have
put
been-
the bike in the back of the
Today,
truck.
she would have
Just
bought
today.
a truck.
And
Right
then
now.
they would have been like, why did we hire her? We shouldn't have ever had her done this. This is crazy. But no, this is really, really neat. So how many bikes are we going to have?
We're going to have 100 bicycles in Topeka. Yep. Launching in the spring, and they'll be bright red. So
Okay,
you'll
so
see them
this
coming.
green that we have today is just the
Just
prototype.
a prototype. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a proven system. It's not. We're not reinventing the wheel here. This is something that's been in other communities, and people can go. It's socialbicycles.com if you want to see how it works in other areas and kind of see a little bit more. Check out that website. That's a pretty cool explanation of how this works. Because there's a lot of questions I think people would have, way more than we could just answer about how cool this would work for each individual person out there. But I think just get involved with it, look for it, wait for it to come to Topeka, and then jump on the bandwagon and use it. That's really the most important thing.
And you have a nice basket. You could put a dog or a
You do.
baby in there.
Well, I don't know if I'd recommend either of those.
Oh, okay.
but maybe your textbooks, maybe a
You could go
bag.
grocery shopping.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
Whatever you want.
well.
Whatever you want.
I can't wait for spring. Well,
Yeah.
For this and for spring. So let's.
Are you going to do something fun, like the first rollout?
Oh yeah, we'll have a big event. Everybody will know about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are the types of initiatives that a city takes on to cater to the young professional crowd, and we're seeing several of those initiatives pop up, and I'm glad to be able to see that happen. That we're embracing young professionals, and hopefully we don't grow them and educate them so that they can go off other places. They can end up right here in Topeka, and it just takes little pieces like this. This is
Yeah.
something that makes our
It's just
community
a nice touch.
competitive in their minds. So I'm very excited for it, and we want to be in line to ride them as soon as they're available to the public, right? And we're going to.
Oh, yeah. Can we come?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And Jamie's saying right now that she's going to pay for my first year membership. So that was really nice.
So
of you,
generous.
I
Jamie.
will.
Jamie.
Yeah, it's like 2 for 1. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Buy one, get one free.
Yeah,
Kind
pretty
of same
much.
thing.
Yeah.
I know. It's just semantics. All right. Well, thank you so much, Carl Fundenberger, for joining us. And of course, he's the Director of Bicycle Operations at the Topeka Metro. We are so blessed to have this right here in our community. And of course, be watching for these bikes coming out spring of 2015.
In the studio with Phil Grecian, local writer, actor, director, producer, you name it.
Doorknob,
Whatever.
anything, yeah.
You're absolutely amazing, and you've obviously done a lot of writing, and something that we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about, theater of the mind.
Sure.
Which is some things that you have been doing when you take these stories and you make them like a radio show kind of a deal.
Folks should know about, if they're going to stay home for Halloween, they're going to have an opportunity to see some of the Theater of the Mind
Yes.
on Halloween on KTWU. It's Twisted Tales of Poe will be playing at 8 o'clock, and then we have The Invisible Man playing at 9. So that's Halloween evening. Going to be great. Great
fun.
thing, it's good for the kids to watch too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And just seeing how it's done is a lot of fun. And I had to kind of mess with The Invisible Man a little because H.G. Wells never wrote romantic figures in his life. So I've got a romance I added to it. And I pulled a woman from one of his other stories and plopped her in the middle of it and, kind of sewed up the seams and covered them over with spackling.
Look at that confidence, though. I don't think I could do that. That is something that I would just be like, forget it. Just forget it.
Well, somebody once said writing is easy. All you have to do is open your veins over a keyboard. And it's also very lonely because you're all by yourself in your little cave writing these things. And most people, another old saying, most people want to have written, but nobody wants to write.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah. Isn't that true?
It's the tedious part there.
And I think maybe that's part of me, and I just love and admire writers. People that I know they're in my life that I know write and have done so well with it. I think that's so great, but it's not something that I've ever really been able to do. That's why I think I admire it so much.
Shucks.
So yeah.
Once you're in the zone.
Yeah.
Once you're in the zone and you're writing, you don't want to stop. And what's really interesting is, and I think I've told you guys this before, suddenly the characters are talking and you're just taking it down.
Yeah.
And they surprise you.
Oh, and I think you said that the last time you were
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You said that sometimes all of a sudden the answer comes out and you're like, that wasn't where I was going.
That's right. Well, and it happened.
But it wrote itself.
It happened within his steps, based on a novel that
Yeah.
I had two people in a clutch with a gun between them, and I knew which guy was going to die, and the other guy dropped. And whoa! But then I realized, no, he has to. So
Yeah.
whatever that universe is that you tap into, it informs you.
Yeah.
It does. I have to ask you really quickly before we go. We're totally stretching time, but you're a very interesting man.
Oh.
So we're going to put this on here. But
Keep you around.
Do you have any specific ritual that you do to get yourself into the zone for writing, or does it just come to you in the middle and you just drop what you're doing and say, I need to write right now?
I can't write in my robe and pajamas.
Okay.
I have to
that.
get dressed and put on my shoes, and then I can write. My son, who's also a writer, had a specific, I believe it was a shirt or a jacket or something that he used to have to wear in order to write. It's like Dumbo and his black feather. We all need something.
Does it tell you that you're working?
Yes, I think so.
Maybe
It's
remind you
the
to
role
clock
you're
in,
playing
clock
now.
out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's Phil Grecian. Thank you so much, Phil.
And then
Of course.
you've of course, I know, you've passed this along to your kids, and
Yes.
your kids have done very well too. And it's just, you're an amazing family, amazing
Well, thank
stuff.
you
so
very much.
You're one of my very favorite people.
Oh,
We're lucky
shit.
you're
Anyway.
camped out here in Topeka.
Yeah.
Aw, shit.
No, we really are. We really are. We're lucky to have you.
Now, can you plug Karen's show downstairs too, real
Yes.
quick?
Absolutely. That plays through Halloween as well. So
Okay.
be sure to check out Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of the Baskervilles, adapted for the stage by Phil Grecian. So there's a great opportunity there to have a meal and a great evening out playing through October. So it's a
And
great.
Twisted Tales of Poe and also The Invisible Man on KTWU on Halloween evening at 8 and 9 p.m.
Plenty of things to do, and we thank you for being an interesting guy to make
Oh,
sure
my
that we
pleasure.
have interesting things to do here in Topeka and all over the country.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Well,
very
my
good.
pleasure.
Thank you, Phil. That's
Thank you.
Phil Grecian, amazing author, writer. Do you compose?
I've written two music.
There you go.
Jeez.
You name it.
On.
Thanks for visiting with us today.
Thank you.
In the studio with us is this guy who is a giant history nerd. And I'm going to tell you,
Love him.
He knows everything about Shawnee County history. It's Doug Wallace. How are you doing, Doug?
Well, until that introduction, I was doing all right, I guess. But thanks for calling me a nerd.
Well,
Wow,
I think
we're
it's
excited you're
an
here.
honorable title.
Thank you.
When you're someone who knows so much.
I love the Big Bang Theory anyway, and that
So that works. See, it's cool to
From
be a
one nerd
nerd.
to another.
Yes.
Thanks for being
we
here.
rule the world.
But something we do want to talk a little bit about today is, of course, we love history, and all of a sudden there's a big push for history. People are kind of wanting it. We have the history geeks, with the Rysons, Odd Fellows downstairs, not
Downtown.
downstairs, downtown, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But they're kind of down, you know what I mean.
Yeah, they're 4 blocks away.
Another block over there. So what is with this big push? Do you think this is great?
Well, certainly, whenever you have groups of people and everything becoming interested in the history and the heritage of the communities, that's an exciting and wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And probably it goes in cycles a little bit in terms of the period in which people are really gung-ho learning something about it, then it tails off a little bit and then comes back in.
Now you did this. Let's get to this
Okay, yeah.
because you
Two
for
books.
many years the Shawnee
years
County
ago.
Historical Society you used to write their annuals.
I was the editor for the Shawnee County Historical Society.
Annals.
Typically, we had a bulletin a year. And initially, originally the bulletins were a little, like 36, 40-page. 48-page publications.
ones that I'm
under
holding
me,
on
they
to.
expanded and they became 200 and 300. So we didn't always make it in a single year.
Yes.
And both of these were compilations, stories from the Avenue and strolling down the Avenue.
Now these are really cool because these
Yes.
they tell a lot of the history. And
It
as
is,
we look at
just
downtown right now,
They're compilations of stories, mostly, or at least a lot of reproductions from newspaper articles. One of the things I did have is spread out to us stories from the Avenue.
And
Different
this-
people, their reminiscence is what it was like
Yeah.
growing up in with downtown.
So you
Topeka.
get individual accounts. You also get newspaper articles. You get any documents.
Oh, there's a
those
few.
sorts of
Strolling,
things.
Strolling the Avenue has a lot of the history. The history of the Tickettville building is in. This,
Actually, both of them
well,
a
yeah.
little bit, but especially the strolling down the avenue, which I deal with because by that time, this is 2000 or something or other when we did this.
Yeah, 2002.
My
picture's in this
The
one.
900 block had a lot of original buildings, architecture, and so on and so on. And it was not. This was sort of the. Sort of the tail end of downtown. The heart of downtown back in the 20s, 30s, 40s was, of course, in the 700 and 800 blocks. And this was everything south of Pelletiers was sort of hinterlands, although there were a number of intriguing shops and stores, including here in the Veal building.
Look at this.
Chocolate shop.
It shows these people that were down. I mean, these are people that were coming in and out of these buildings.
incredible.
Their husband and wife, Dr. David and Dorothy Nickel, who were doctors who were, well, they could have been, well, I don't know, but they could have occupied this very space where your studio was located, kind of thing. And
As a matter of fact, is that the ones from here? I think they might
Yes,
have
oh, yeah.
been.
They were here in this building.
They were the ones, I believe that was the suite, if we look in here.
The front,
where
probably the
our,
front. In fact,
studio
there
is right now. It's cool to know that is.
There's
who used to
a
have their
photograph,
offices here.
I think, taken probably at the time of the First World War, when you had patriotic parades up and down the avenue. There's a picture of this building when it was just the north half of the building was intact, and you see on the sign in the front windows, Dr. David Nickel, kind of thing, and maybe Dorothy Nickel as well. I've forgotten exactly what.
Which would then become Talk About Topeka Studios.
I know.
Thanks,
That's
Nichols.
pretty great.
Yes.
Look at this one more thing I saw. The final curtain, they're talking about, I know you can't see it from this far, but in 1976, the final curtain in the Jayhawk Theater. And so this is actually an article that was written, which is so funny because we've already talked about things that are going to be happening at the Jayhawk Theater. It's just crazy.
Yeah, the Rocky Mountain Horror Story kind of
Rocky
thing.
Mountain Horror Story.
Rocky Mountain Horror Story.
That was probably the kind of movie that
See if you
was
can find
being
your
shown
picture
in the
there.
last few years at the Jayhawk. It was, once all the papers have been digitized, et cetera, it might be easier to look up particular topics, but you'll lose some of that fun of being just exploring, and that's what you do. Is sort of.
But another
explore.
great thing to do is to go, if you are on Facebook, to go to the Topeka History Geeks. There's also the Kansas History Geeks. I'm onto the Greeks. But there's lots of great information there, and we can find out more about our
Kansas
city.
Memory from the Kansas State Historical Society.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Doug Wallace, for
Thank you.
joining us. We
Well,
would
thank
love
you
to
for
have you
asking me. I
back.
appreciate it.
We have another icon in the Topeka area. I called you an icon. I love
that's
that.
nice.
We have Shannon Reilly here with us from Topeka Civic Theater. And
Hello.
of course, all these wonderful things coming out of Topeka
Yes,
Civic Theater.
yes, I'm very excited. We have a great show coming up that's opening this coming Friday. It's called Murder. A Murder is Announced. It's an Agatha Christie murder mystery. We do an Agatha Christie murder mystery about every other year, but we do a murder mystery almost every October. And it's really our great chance to enjoy killing somebody slowly with dinner. So,
Love it.
I
Yes.
did that last week.
I know. Doesn't it make you feel refreshed by Monday?
Yeah. Well, you know, I went for my first time to Topeka Civic Theater play, which was Mary Poppins, which was
That was your first
absolutely-
time.
I know. Is that horrible?
Oh, you should be very proud.
How many times
Yeah,
have I
right?
interviewed you? Is
Yeah,
that really
yeah,
bad?
yeah,
I know.
that's
Now
pretty
I'm
bad.
really
Both rolled our eyes
embarrassed. I know.
out.
But my first time, going out there, and I was completely impressed because this
Yeah.
is a community theater,
Yeah.
and it was awesome.
It is. It's
Those
absolutely awesome.
actors acted like they were getting paid $1
Man,
million.
they're pros. They are absolutely pros. You know, I tell the story all the time, but it's the truth. We were doing Buddy Holly, and we had a tour group that came in from Oklahoma, and they have a clause in their contract: no community theater. You can't take them. And their tour group leader had been to TCT and didn't tell him. And when he got on the bus after the show, he walked up and he said, "I got a confession. You were all just at a community theater." They refused to believe him. He had to go inside, find the guy playing Buddy Holly, who would come on the bus, and tell them, "Yes, yes, indeed, this was a community theater production because they refused to believe it.
Wow.
And I love that story because that is iconic of what TCT is. It is top-notch quality entertainment that is done right here in your hometown with your hometown neighbors, friends, doctors, lawyers, garbage men, all sharing the stage together and blowing you away by the hidden talents that they have.
That gave me goosebumps just hearing about that, because that is really cool. It was like that. It was such a great experience, and I thought, these are people that I interact with every single day.
Exactly.
And they can act, and they can sing, and they can dance, and they can do that dance thingy in Mary Poppins. I'm not going to do it.
The dance
but
thingy.
Yes,
They can do the dance thing.
I mean, amazing.
It took forever to teach people the dance thing. But everybody's an artist. They just don't know it sometimes. And if you don't have a chance to express yourself in that artistic way, at some moment in your life, you just feel lost. It is a piece of you that has to be expressed. And I tell people all the time that doing theater and doing Topeka Civic Theater is the best addiction you can foster. And you get your kids involved in theater. I've got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. They've been doing theater since they were born. And let me tell you, it has enriched their lives. And they are so much better, rounder, happier, more intelligent people because they have a chance to experience art right there in front of them on a almost daily basis.
Shannon, you have been at the helm of the artistic side of Topeka Civic Theater since like the mid-90s, right?
Yeah, I came, first time I came was in 1990 as a guest artist, again in 91 as a guest artist, and then full-time staff on 92.
Yeah.
So, I'm old.
Yeah,
That's what you're trying to get. But I've been around a long time.
With that consideration and knowing that Topeka Civic Theater, when you came here, it was in a warehouse.
Oh, yeah,
in, kind of the North Topeka area, and none of that development had been done yet over there. So it was kind of a really scary place to go. You had to drive across these train tracks to get there. And it just seemed very, seedy if you didn't know where you were going.
Oh, yeah. The first time I pulled into the parking lot, I thought, I have to be in the wrong place. I got to get out of here before I get mugged. And I came from Kansas City, and I was nervous. But, it was a scary little place. But, you walked inside the door of that warehouse, and you'd look at the wall and all of the pictures of all of the shows on the walls, and you just go, this has got to be an oasis in the middle of the world of art and power. And, it was truly a magnificent place to be. We made magic in that tiny little building. And we made it year after year, show after show. And somebody said when we were leaving the warehouse, they said, are you going to miss the warehouse? And I said, not if I aim right, because it was a really tough place to work. The snow would collect backstage. It would rain in the audience.
Umbrellas.
Umbrellas. You had to go outside to get on either side of the stage. But at the same time, there was an immense amount of charm. And if it hadn't been for the warehouse, we wouldn't have Gage School today. We wouldn't have that theater because people learned to believe in TCT in that tiny little building, and they believed in us enough to now have 3 stages in 2 different locations in town.
Yeah. Well, good deal.
Great time. It's been a long-standing tradition, Topeka Civic Theater here in the Topeka community. We're a much better community for having everyone involved with Topeka Civic Theater.
And TCT is a much better organization because of how much Topeka has invested in it, believed in it, and supported it over the years. So we're always thankful to that.
That is Shannon
It's amazing.
Reilly.
It's all volunteers that help you out. It's so incredible.
Shannon Reilly, Artistic Director of Topeka Civic Theater, of course. A Murder is Announced opens this coming weekend. Be sure to get those tickets, pick up the dinner, a great night out if you're looking for a wonderful evening out, and support Topeka Civic Theater.
TopekaCivicTheater.com.
Yep, you can buy tickets there, right?
Yes, you can buy tickets.
Right, that's a great place to do it.
Visit talkabouttopeka.com to hear full interviews of all our guests. Connect with us anytime on Facebook and Twitter. Listen live and hear more from Chris and Jamie from 7 to 8 a.m. every weekday on The Big Talker, KMAJ 1440. And keep talking about Topeka.